we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time listening, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, hit us up for any reason, check it out. Hit us up in the DMs, in the comments, wherever you are. We'd love to hear from you. If you have an idea for a new topic to cover, if you want to come on as a guest, please hit us up there. Thank you for being here. This is the best way you can support the podcast. But if you did want to support it even more, like the video if you're watching on YouTube, like the episode wherever you're listening, rate it and review and do all that fun stuff. But if you wanted to go with an extra mile, hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. So again, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Again, you might notice I'm trying to be a little bit more chill, just because hopefully the people who are listening to this are interested in the topic. I don't, if they're in the throes, hopefully, I'm not making too many loud noises because we're going to talk about migraines today. So whether you have had one, whether you haven't had one, we're going to talk about it. I've unfortunately suffered from them myself. Unfortunately, a couple of real big ones. But, generally speaking, migraine's a headache that can cause severe throbbing pain or pulsing sensation, usually on one side of the head, and it's often accompanied by nausea, vomiting, and extra sensitivity to light and sound. Migraine attacks can last for hours to days, and the pain can also be so bad that it interferes with your daily activities. And, again, it's kind of one of those things where migraines can be completely debilitating. It takes you out of work, it takes you out of school, it takes you out of all these different things. And, there are some causes, maybe, I guess we could call them. We'll get into those later, but usually kind of leading up to them, some people have a kind of a warning system known as an aura that occurs before or with the headache, and the aura can include visual disturbances such as flashes of light or blind spots, or other disturbances such as tingling on one side of the face or in an arm or leg, and difficulty speaking. So those auras are kind of just like those early senses. So sometimes you kind of see these weird flashes of light, so to speak. And some medications can help prevent some migraines. I was given some stuff by my doctor years ago that if I take it right before I feel a migraine, it kind of stops it right then and there. There are some medication, obviously, that make them less painful as well, and the right medications and help with self-help remedies and lifestyle changes might actually help. Again, like I said, migraines basically have 4 stages: the prodrome, the aura, the attack, and the postdrome. Not everyone who has a migraine necessarily goes through all these stages, but the prodrome is usually 1 or even 2 days before the migraine, and it can have symptoms that include constipation, mood changes, food cravings, neck stiffness, all things like that. Increased urination, fluid retention, frequent yawning. Interesting. So all these things can kind of lead up to the migraine, and basically your best attack is kind of like stopping it before it really gets going. And with all these things, you kind of do get a little bit of a chance. The auras come usually several minutes or about 60 minutes before your actual migraine starts. And again, it can continue through the migraine. You can still feel those things, like we said before. Weird visual phenomena like bright spots or flashes, or these weird oblong kind of curved shapes. Vision loss, pins and needles, sensation in an arm and a leg, weakness or numbness in the face or one side of the body, and difficulty speaking. The attack itself usually lasts from 4 to 72 hours if untreated. How often this definitely varies from person to person, but during the migraine you might have pain usually on one side of your head, but often on both sides. Pain that throbs or pulses, sensitivity to light and sometimes smell and touch, and nausea and vomiting. So again, these are kind of the symptoms that help us distinguish between a migraine and a headache too, right? You kind of have to think like, oh, am I just having a severe headache here? Is this actually a migraine? And then the postdrome is basically after the migraine. You kind of almost feel like drained and confused, washed out. It's almost like having a hangover the next day. So, obviously people live their lives with them. They come and go. Hopefully they're not very often, but if they are, if you regularly have signs and symptoms of a migraine, you should keep a record of your attacks and how you treated them. Then make an appointment with your healthcare provider to discuss your headaches. So give them a little bit of that background of what kind of symptoms you've actually been having and how you've been treating them. Because again, those self-help remedies are going to be super huge, along with whatever your healthcare provider is going to provide you, right? Like, and give you as a course of action, whether that's actually medication or whether that's, change in diet and things like that. But if you are in there and you are seeing changes in these patterns, or your headaches are suddenly feeling different, you should immediately go see your healthcare provider, go to the emergency room if you have an abrupt, severe headache, like a thunderclap, like out of nowhere. A headache with fever, stiff neck, confusion, seizures, double vision, numbness or weakness, any part of the body. These are past migraines. It's time to go to the emergency room. Don't just tough this one out and take some Advils. Headache after a head injury is super important to take care of, which I'll tell you a story in a second about that. And a chronic headache that is worse after coughing, exertion, straining, or sudden movement. Also, new headache pain after age 50, which you've never experienced. You should take a look at that. Obviously there's lots of causes and things like that. There's this peptide that's floating around your body called calcitonin gene-related peptides, and it's there's like two versions of it that are kind of floating around your body, and a lot of neurologists have pointed the finger at this peptide as if you have high levels of this in your bloodstream, kind of genetically, it literally is a gene-based peptide, you might be more prone to these headaches. And what that peptide actually does is it like mitigates the dilation essentially of your blood vessels in your brain. So deep inside your brain, past the blood-brain barrier, which not everything goes past the blood-brain barrier, but once you're in there, this peptide, CGRP, calcitonin gene-related peptide, CGRP actually builds up in there and can dilate those arteries, and that's what they think is actually starting to lead to, and what actually causes physiologically the sense of a migraine, because it's creating that extra pressure, and the nociceptors, which are the pain receptors in your brain, are actually sending signals to your body that you are experiencing said pain. Obviously there's a bunch of different ways and analgesics, and different over-the-counter medications you can take, anti-inflammatories, ibuprofen, things like that. There's Gepants, which actually block the CGRP receptor in your brain. There's triptans, which act on the serotonin system in your brain and blocks the release of CGRP. There's a kind of combinations of all those different medications and stuff. Some opioids, of course, anti-nauseants, because people obviously feel these symptoms of nausea with migraines, and some prednisone, which is an anti-inflammatory steroid, a steroidal anti-inflammatory that helps try to bring down some of that inflammation. Excuse me, that may occur in the brain. Obviously some other things that scientists have neuroscientists have figured out is that alcohol use, stress, cold weather fronts, sleep deprivation, and a drop in estrogen levels, especially pre-menstruation, are major key causes that might actually trigger an attack. So, be super careful out there if you are prone to migraines. Of course, I'm sure you've had your experiences and things like that and found your ways to mitigate things. But my my biggest experience with a migraine anyway. It was really my first one. And we're going all the way back to grade 8. So back when I was still playing basketball, in grade 8, at that point I was playing at the highest level of rep basketball in Ontario for that level, for that age group. So grade 8, it's like 13 and under kind of thing. And my team was in the, you're in the final tournament. You have to win enough games to actually get into the tournament, as far as I know. I mean, we were always there, so I kind of maybe took that for granted. But I think you had to win so many games to actually make it to the tournament. Then once you were there, you were seeded, and then you had to play different teams. And of course, we're seeing the same teams that we had seen throughout the whole year. And it's the big culmination of the entire year. It's called the OBAs, the Ontario Basketball Association Finals, but we just call them the OBAs. There's funny because if you ever played baseball in Ontario, I'm pretty sure their thing was called the OBAs as well. So Ontario Baseball Association series, World Series, whatever the fuck they called it. Anyway, but this was obviously the biggest deal, and this was grade 8. When I was playing rep basketball, I played with these same guys since grade 6. We played grade 6, 7, 8. It was basically the same team. Had a couple changes of the lineup there, so to speak, but it was a really good team. Again, the best for our age group. I think there was one. We were we were one of 2 teams in Hamilton, 2 Wildcats, and Blessed Sacrament was my team. Shout out Blessed Sacrament Yellow Jackets. Shout out Blessed Sac. Shout out everyone I've ever played with. My God, the list is too long to start. I think I might have actually, I'm not sure if I've done a podcast on the time we actually won the OBAs. Spoiler alert. Anyway, years later in my career, when I was in grade 11, I ended up playing with the older guys the year ahead of us in the 19 and under OBA finals, and we actually won it. Tremendous, super fun. But again, all my buddies played on this particular team, which these were the teams, our formative years, so to speak, especially playing basketball and learning the sport at that high level. We had intense coaching and just kind of, went through a lot of learning experiences as young athletes, especially at that high level. And, hopefully everyone who's hearing this right now that was on that team, hopefully you guys are doing well. I see some of you on Facebook still, but not everyone, actually, now that I think about it. So hope everyone's doing great on the old Blessed Sacrament AAA number 1 team, because there was actually a couple. I think we had 1 or 2. Nah, maybe they weren't even another AAA, but I digress. So Blessed Sacrament was a great organization. They had a bunch of teams, single A, double A, triple A. I was playing single A ball for the first year, when I think grade 5 was the first time I had ever played rep ball, and I was kind of just easing into it. I was still learning the game, so I kind of wanted to get into things a little bit easier, and so did my dad for sure, because he helped guide most of my basketball career. And I played the single A team, and it was great. My dad was the assistant coach for that team, and played with a bunch of great guys there, actually a couple guys from elementary school, which was super fun. But this other team had already been going. I think they had been going already. I think they had started that same year. So everyone is in grade 5 that was on that team, started in AAA, and then I started in single A, and played that year out. And then the next year was when we actually got together, like I said. So grade 6, the first year I had joined the team. And again, really, really great squad, really good players who I think a couple of them at least went on to play basketball at the next level. I think if you count like Sam and Tyrell, I think did, maybe, shit. And then a couple other people, myself and Mark Lillis, he rode at the University of Victoria. There was tremendous athletes, all these great guys. I know Matt Savell played at University of Toronto. He played on their basketball team for sure. But yeah, anyway, probably the only people who knew who the fuck I'm talking about are the people who I'm talking about. So again, shout out, boys. Hopefully everyone's doing good. Anyway, so we're back at the OBAs. It's our last year together. We played grade 6, 7, 8. This is grade 8. We're going on to high school next year. Everyone's a little bit unsure if they're going to continue to play rep basketball, and this team was kind of had reached its time limit or whatever, its expiry date. So we're in the OBAs, we're playing. It's in London, Ontario, where I actually inevitably went to university, and was so funny. I remember we used to go to London all the time playing basketball, and I used to think like, oh yeah, I know my way around London. I played there all the time. I played fucking AAA or NBA 3-on-3. I played it like on the street. So it was like, I fucking know my way around London for sure. Anyway, when I eventually moved there to go to school, it was fucking no. I had no idea where I was. Honestly, there's still places in London I don't know where the fuck they were, and I lived there for like 6 years. So shout out. Anyway, shout out London, Ontario. What up? And OBAs were being held there. Obviously, a big deal. We're trying to do the best. It would be fucking great if we went out on a high note and won. I think my first year we won silver. The next year, grade 7, I think we were bronze. Maybe we might have came in 4th, but I think we were in the bronze game. Anyway, grade 8, we're playing. We actually played really good. There was there's a team we used to play against, Scarborough Blues, which are a tremendous team, and I played really well against them. We ended up losing that game, unfortunately, but we ended up playing them, I think, again, or maybe it was Brampton Blue Devils, who actually, on Scarborough Blues, Corey Joseph of NBA fame played on the Blues, and then, oh my gosh, what's his name? And then when I played, or there was another guy, Mo, I can't remember. Anyway, let's not make this all about the basketball. We ended up playing in the bronze medal game. So we were playing for who's going to be in 3rd place. And we're playing, and in the middle of the game, the ball did hit me in the head. Don't get me wrong. It bounced off my head. No one fucking hucked it. It was kind of one of those things where the ball kind of got like tossed up in the air and it like hit me in the head. I kind of looked stupid, but like it wasn't like no one like chucked it. It wasn't like a head injury, but hopefully this comes up later in the story here. But we play the game. We unfortunately lose, so we came in 4th in the province as our final send away. That's what we got. Thanks everybody. It was a loss. To kind of put the final punctuation on that team, which is maybe apropos. But we ended up losing that game. Before the game, I was feeling like a little bit kind of flu-like symptoms. I was feeling a little nauseated, feeling a little sick. Again, stay with me now. After the game's done, everyone shakes hands, everyone hugs. All right, it's time to go back home. Thanks for everything. We'll see ya. I get in the car with my mom, and as soon as I get in the car, I'm just like, I'm starving, Ma. Like, let's grab some food. Like, I haven't eaten anything because I was feeling sick. I didn't eat anything that day, and then I played 2 games, I think, that day. And, you're feeling kind of fucking sick, and, I was feeling kind of sick, but I was like, I got to eat something. I think that'll help me feel a little bit better. Anyway, and then all of a sudden, just like, fuck, I'm just thirsty, Ma. Like, pull over somewhere. Like, I couldn't get the food enough. We couldn't get to the restaurant fast enough. And I couldn't, like, I was just like, I need something to drink right now. Like, I was just like going off a cliff. Then all of a sudden, I started getting this crazy pain in my left eye, like right behind my left eye, kind of like someone was pushing a hot poker into my eye. And that's like exactly what it felt like. It was so painful. And I was just like, I started slurring my speech. And I was just like, man, this like really, really hurts, right? So anyway, I'm pretty sure my mom saw that play where I got hit in the head with the ball. Again, not hard. But I think she saw it and was like, oh man, like he's got a head injury. Something's wrong. Started slurring my speech. I couldn't remember the word for like door. I was like trying to remember, like, I got to open this thing. And she's like, what? Like, I'm like, what is this thing? Sitting in a car, the door is right there. I'm grabbing the handle. I'm like, I'm trying to open this. And I'm like, I couldn't come up with the word door. So then she's like, all right. She calls her friend who is a nurse at Victoria Hospital in London. Shout out to Linda. and is like, hey, I'm driving. My mom was kind of like, fuck it, we're just going to go home. Think she was going to take me to the hospital that she worked at. She was a nurse for like 40 years. So she was, I think, thinking maybe she can get me home in time to just go right to her hospital, which at least she knows people at. But then she calls her friend, her best friend growing up too. So she knew it was a confidant. And Auntie Linda was like, just if you think it's a head injury, especially, go to the hospital right now. This thing can be like a matter of minutes if something's really wrong. So she's like, okay, let's go to Victoria Hospital. So she kind of does a UE basically and goes back to Victoria Hospital in London. And we go into we pull up to the emergency. And I couldn't remember the word for wheelchair either, I think was another thing. So again, I'm fucked up. Like, it's like I'm kind of like presenting like stroke symptoms on like here a little bit. So obviously my mom's kind of freaked out and she thinks I have a head injury. So she I'm in a wheelchair now. She wheels me into the emergency, like, we have a head injury, like, help him out. So anyway, that at least helped everyone kind of get to. And I think I was kind of like fucking lolling in the in the wheelchair. Now, mind you, I'm telling you this story. I'm in grade 8, but I'm also 6'4" and I'm over 200 pounds at this point. I'm pretty sure, even in grade 8. Yes, I know, but so I'm like a fucking full grown man. So they don't know what the fuck's going on. But anyway, my mom obviously gives me my credentials. He's 13, but he's a giant man. But anyway, I was like all fucked up. And they lay me down on the bed, and I can't even remember if they were asking me any questions. I was like way out of it. But anyway, they hit me up with a liter of saline and then 4 codeine pills, and I fucking could have done backflips out of that hospital. But I was ready to go right then. I was like, boom, I'm good, because I was probably dehydrated. I was probably lacking fluids, and then obviously the codeine completely wipes out any pain you're gonna have. I was like, woo, I feel better than even before, because I was like had been playing fucking basketball all weekend. So anyway, I'm like, all right, cool, like that's cool, thanks doc, like I'm feeling great. But they're like, all right, sit down son, like we gotta look into things here, because like you were fucked up. And my mom was probably like, well, what the hell was that about? So they end up looking into him, and they're like, well, the next time we can get you into an MRI is like in 3 days. And we kind of want to keep an eye on you anyway, just in case something happens again. So we're going to admit you for 3 days. So I spent 3 days in the hospital because I had a fucking migraine. And my like roommate was like a kid. He probably had like some type of like juvenile cancer or something. Like he was mad sick. He was living in that hospital. Yeah, he was like, we didn't know when Buddy was going to be getting out. So it was like, damn. It got real there. But anyway, they do the MRI, no symptoms. It's fucking trippy getting an MRI on your head, because you have to go head first. I mean, I had to do that for my shoulder as well, which also sucks. But you go head first into this thing, and they got you in like a little cage to keep your head still. Fucking trippy. And then later they did an outpatient thing to see, because they were like, well, we have no idea what caused it. They basically let me go after the 3 days and said it was a complicated migraine. But they wanted to do another test, because there was a chance that I had this congenital heart defect thing that some people get, which, well, everyone has this congenital heart formation. It's not even a malformation. It's congenital heart formation. When you're a child, when you're in utero, you actually have a hole in between the atrium of your heart, I think. Anyway, which allows blood to circulate through, because you don't have fucking active lungs. Your lungs aren't actually properly working. So your bloodstream kind of bypasses the pulmonary artery, which is where pulmonary vein, I should say, where the oxygenated blood comes from your lungs into your heart. It bypasses all your lungs, and it just kind of circulates within itself, and it creates a complete loop of your circulatory system through the heart. Now, when you're born and your lungs start to work, that oxygenated blood starts pumping back in through your pulmonary vein, from your heart, through your pulmonary artery, into your lungs, back through your pulmonary vein, into your heart, and then that pumps out to the rest of your body. And slowly over time, that hole closes, and you don't have to have that complete loop. Now it bypasses through the lungs, and then that's the loop. Sometimes that doesn't close in some people. So what can unfortunately happen is like a blood clot or a piece of plaque or some fucking arterial malformation can travel through that little hole and make its way, into your carotid artery, which will go up into your brain, and that might actually make it into your the canals in your brain and cause a stroke. Because again, that was like kind of these. It was a trippy fucking. I had crazy symptoms, right? But again, nothing on the MRI, but they wanted to do this test. It's called the transcranial Doppler. So what they actually do to test you is they get 9 cc's of saline and 1 cc of air, and they mix the two together. The neurologist had this contraption. He could attach two 10 cc syringes together, two 10 milliliters syringes together, and he mixed the air into the saline solution and caused like these micro bubbles, like it was like foam based, extremely small bubbles. And his plan was to inject that into my bloodstream. Now, okay, I get it. You should never inject air into the bloodstream. It can cause an embolism. Yes, we know this. However, these micro bubbles do kind of form sometimes in the bloodstream, and then they go away and they can be absorbed back into the lungs, and no problemo. But you have to be careful when you're doing it, of course. So he does in the saline solution and carefully injects that solution into my bloodstream. Meanwhile, he's hooked up like a small ultrasound monitor to my temple. And if there were any bubbles, if there was a hole in my heart, he would be able to see these bubbles go through my, go through the artery that's, my temporal artery, I guess, but go through the arteries that he could see through my temple, because that's the thinnest part of the skull. So it's really easy to actually see through that bone and see into the frontal. It's actually where your frontal lobe is, and see if those bubbles traveled through that hole, because that's the only way that they would get there and into the brain. And again, negative. Thankfully, negative. I had no hole in the heart. That closed up long ago, probably after I was born. But again, left us wondering, what was that all about? I had another major one in high school where I ended up going to the hospital too, and it was the same thing. I felt like I was going to puke before and all this stuff. So like now, if I ever feel anything like that, like I'm pretty good at kind of like mitigating things. Thankfully, I've never had one nearly as severe as that. But again, remember all the things we said earlier in the podcast. Be careful, know your signs, know your symptoms, talk to your doctor if this persists and it's a major issue. But again, there's all kinds of different ways, and the best way is a combined approach. So whatever works for you. But if you need to talk to a physician, they might have some suggestions as well that might actually help augment your own approach. Anyway, if you have migraines and you suffer from them, I'm sorry. I'm with you. There's many of us out there. But again, be careful. Know the signs, know the symptoms. Take it easy, everyone. See you next week. Love you. Peace.